been happy never watching that
So,
movie again.
which chaser do we want to drink next?
Let's go with Hustle.
Quite frankly, I'm not interested in working for a smug, born-on-third fucking bitch.
Hustle. All right.
So, Hustle is a... What was it?
It is...
Was it last year? 2022,
yes,
right?
It was 2022,
So
released on Netflix.
Most recent of the films is Netflix. It was a Billy Madison joint, the same way as Ridiculous Six,
Pixels, Jack and Jill.
Jack and Jill. What was the one about the porn star you were talking about earlier?
Bucky Larson. Anger Management. I'm trying to think of what else. Funny People.
Was Funny People?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't think it was, but it was Happy Madison.
Okay. Yeah, Judd
Mr.
Apatow
Deeds.
needs to learn how to edit a film, and he'll be okay with it. I'll watch his stuff again. But yeah.
But again, it's among the Citizen Kane of Happy Madison.
It is. For me, I see it as a movie. It's kind of a reworking of Rocky, but you're in the perspective of Burgess Meredith's character, the trainer.
Get out of here! Don't you ever interrupt me while I'm conducting business. Move your little chicken ass.
And Rocky is more of a secondary character.
Yeah.
I mean, it even takes place in Philadelphia. So it's hard not to entirely make that comparison. And there's even the Rocky, he runs up the steps. And he's like, look at me, I'm Rocky. Like, they acknowledge that is, in a certain way, what they are doing.
It was. And what was weird, because I think this was, of the good movies we watched, this was the only one that was Happy Madison.
Yes.
And it was, I was honestly expecting it just to be good for their standards, but this was just good, period.
Yeah, I'm not going to call it great, but it was
not quite great.
It was good. It was heartwarming. It was, out of all the films we watched, I think this is the one I laughed the most at.
Yes.
It's not an obvious comedy, but there is good humor.
There's subtle humor. There are real jokes that aren't forced. They're just kind of slipped in there.
Yeah, they feel like authentic character.
They do.
Moments. They
Queen Latifah's really good in this.
Yeah, she's great.
I don't know. I don't know the daughter's name. She did fine.
I really, really, really hate that they keep on making Ben Foster a villain in movies. I really like him as an actor.
The only other thing I can recall seeing him in was he was the Angel in one of the X-Men, right?
Yeah, X-Men 3.
Right.
Yeah. He's also in a movie called Pandorum, which is a pretty good sci-fi film that I like. He's one of the main characters in that.
He's got a good villain face, though, I think.
Yeah, he does.
He plays, in this film, he plays a good villain. That's really all I know.
I just think of him in Pandorum, and I like him just as a good everyman type character. I think he's good at. He was also in Hell and High Water, I think. Okay. He's one of the brothers. That's just an excellent film. I think Tyler Sheridan wrote that, so worth watching if you like his stuff.
Okay.
Sicario,
yes.
Yellowstone.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah. But so basically, he's a scout. Mm-hmm. He gets promoted to head coach, or not head coach. Assistant coach. But then the guy who promotes him dies. Son takes over. Ben Foster.
Yeah. I like how you call him the guy. One of the most famous actors of all time.
I'm just kind of Robert Duvall. Excuse me. Yeah. I'm just running through the synopsis in my head. Robert Duvall's character is the owner. He dies. Son takes over. Son decides that Adam Sandler is more valuable as a scout. Adam Sandler's character has a real gripe. He wants to be home with his daughter. Now, he's tired of being on the road as a scout all the time. Ben Foster essentially just doesn't care.
Yep.
And then he finds this basketball player playing street ball, but he's just freakish talented, super good. Makes Adam Sandler just lose his mind. He's like, I found this guy. And it goes from there. It's basically Rocky. You can figure out how it goes from there. Everyone in this movie did their part. Adam Sandler had one of the bigger ranges in terms of emotion, from happy to pissed off to sad. He played a lot of different emotions really well, and there were moments where you could really see him holding back, because up until he actually quit, you could tell he wanted to cuss him out. and he just bit his tongue, but you could actually feel his tension building up.
Yeah, and I think like when Adam Sandler films work, he's truly playing an everyman. Mm-hmm. In this movie, it feels like he's playing an everyman. Yes, he's a scout for the 76ers, but he's an everyman. He's a man that made a mistake when he was in college, and he's been kind of living with that regret, but he still has a family and loved ones and friends who support him. Same with Uncut Gem. He was very much an everyman in that. Mm-hmm. We'll get to Punch Drunk Love. I feel like he was an everyman in that. I think his earlier comedies, including like Anger Management, he felt like an everyman in those. But then you, like, in the ones where it doesn't work, he, like, even though he's playing an everyman in Pixels, he doesn't feel like an everyman.
No.
Like, there's just something off about it. And so... He
feels like a bum in Pixels.
Right. And so, and I mean, I guess funny people, he's not playing an everyman because he is playing basically a version of himself. He's playing a Hollywood elite in that film.
Yeah.
But, which is kind of what he's playing in Jack and Jill.
That's exactly what he is in Jack and Jill, actually. He's just like a commercial executive.
Yeah, he's a Hollywood elite in that, yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of shocking to me that for when he works well for me, he is playing an everyman, and he kind of nails the everyman. Mm-hmm. And that's what I got in this movie. This is another one where, because I'm not into sports, like I was constantly like they show a guy at the very beginning of the film who's like, no, I'm 22 or something like that, and then they bring in the guy's son. It's one of like the very first jokes in the movie. He's scouting this basketball player.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
And
took me a second. Sorry.
And I was like, oh, that's the guy from John Wick Chapter 3. That's right. Okay, the library fight sequence.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't know that most of these guys were actual basketball players. Mm-hmm. Of course, I know who Dr. J is.
Dirk Nowitzki, when he had the phone, and he was showing the guy, like trying to get the guy, like look, I'm a real scout. Dirk is really well-known player. Kind of the kind of guy that you have to actually be into NBA at all to know about. That he's a real well-known one.
Like I knew, like when they referenced like Scottie Pippen, bred with a wolf. Like I was of the age and watching basketball whenever like the Bulls were blowing up and we had the dream team. So I knew those guys because Stockton was on that team. I think we referenced John Stockton. But that's about when Sean Kemp started playing, because my brother was really big into Sean Kemp. That's about where my basketball knowledge drops off completely.
Right.
So
and a lot of Sandler movies, good and bad, involve NBA because he genuinely loves basketball.
Yeah, you can tell that.
He's a big fan. And
I don't think somebody who wasn't a big basketball fan would have wanted to make this or even Uncut Gems.
No, they wouldn't.
I mean, I think he was able to harness. I don't even know if that was really acting. I think he was truly able to harness a passion that he has, and it's.
Well, that's what makes it easier to do it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, go back to Jack and Jill, the scene where they're at the Lakers, I think, and at one point they're just kind of green screened in there, and then they're just showing like generic footage. It's terrible.
Yeah,
they do it horribly. But in this movie, they actually incorporate the whole world so well. Same with Uncut Gems.
That was your moment to reference something, and you missed it. So we're going to move on. Yeah.
Well, tell me now. I need to know what it is.
Well, who was Al Pacino sitting next to at the Lakers game in Jack?
Oh, it's Johnny. Oh. And you know what? Like 2 movies ago, I was thinking, I was like, how can we work her into this? And I had the perfect moment.
You had the perfect moment to reference her.
And that was around the time it started happening. It was making news.
Oh, I'm sure. No, because that was like almost like 10 years ago.
Oh, Jack and Jill was 11, wasn't it? Yeah, you're right.
Dang it! So no. I mean, she was probably still shitting beds back then, but I don't know.
Maybe that's why he was at the game. He didn't want to go home.
Deep cut for the 4 people that actually watch all of our episodes. Okay.
Our Reddit is blowing up.
Yeah. They did it again. What's their obsession with it?
There's some deeper meaning.
Okay, so Hustle. I had to look up that the main actor, the Spanish athlete.
I didn't even know who he was.
I had to look him up. He plays for the Raptors, I think, when I looked him up. I thought. That's what
okay.
Maybe I was wrong.
I enjoy NBA, but I'm not like I don't know like the whole bench, the whole roster, so I wouldn't know.
And I recognize the name Allen Iverson because he was in there. I recognized that name.
Yeah, he was big.
And there was other people in there, and I think a lot of it was for someone like me. It was kind of nice at the very end. The closing credits as they did the cast. Yeah. And then they did all the NBA players and who they played, and I was like, oh, I recognize that name, and he was playing somebody, and it was only like 4 or 5 of them that I actually recognized, but I was like, oh, okay, all right, I've heard that name before, okay.
But he was, and he's actually able to get these guys to come in and actually show a little bit of acting talent. Yeah. Because a lot of times these directors, they'll basically just tell the athlete, just go talk to the camera. And then you get this really stale, dry monologue where the actors are around. He was actually able to make, him and the director, not just him, were able to make them actually feel like they were part of the world. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was shocked by, is that the kid was, I don't know how old he is, but he's a kid to me. He was actually a very compelling actor. He was. Like in the moments where, like especially like towards the end where he knows he screwed up, and he's saying goodbye to his daughter, and you know he's kind of heartbroken, but his daughter is still very proud of how much he accomplished, and his mom is too. Like he was able to convey a lot without using words, and that's what acting is, and I was very impressed by what he did. He was very talented. He did a wonderful job of really letting, like, just as you said, no words, but you can read his face so well. And he wasn't even making a lot of facial expressions. Just his entire body language really conveyed what he was feeling. Well, he's really good with his eyes. I think even in one scene he maybe cries a bit, like, and even and Sandler does too. And I was like, I'm buying it, and it's towards the end of the movie, so you've already bought into the characters, you've already bought into the world and the actors, and so maybe it's you've bought into so much that maybe they aren't doing the best job at cry acting towards the end or whatever in their moments. Yeah. But you've invested yourself in the movie and in these characters, and so you're just able to kind of. You read it as an audience as more authentic than it probably really is. Like if somebody just came in and saw those scenes, I'd probably be like, it's all right, acting. But like, no, I'm invested in these characters, so I'm buying this a whole lot more. And I think that's a sign of good directing. It's good editing, good writing. That you can get to that point, and maybe an actor isn't top notch, but the audience is selling whatever is buying whatever the actor is selling at that point. I mean, post Rocky, if you could do like a workout montage where I'm actually enjoying watching it, you've done something really well. Yeah, absolutely. You've done something well. I don't know of that many. Like Rocky did them phenomenal. I don't know that many other ones that are. Rocky 4. Well, I mean, all the Rockies. And I mean, and this one does the same thing. Uncut Gems doesn't do it as much, but it does understand how to make sports exciting to people who don't really like or understand sports. Because they make it about more than just the sport. Right, but even the sequences where you're watching people playing a game. Right, there's real emotion on the court. Yeah, and they're able to edit it and film it in such a way that everybody is at the height of their game. They're playing the best they've ever played, and it's fun to watch because they know how to edit it. They know, hey, you're not. It's kind of like a martial arts film. Like you aren't going to show how people really fight. Like you aren't going to show like a UFC match where two guys are just like locked and actually
into each other for 20 minutes, waiting for one to give so you can get a slight advantage on the other. It's going to show a much more ballet type.
It's like WWE meets like street fighting.
Right,
is what most MMA movies are.
Right, and that's kind of what this movie does, and maybe it does that or not, where it just makes the game a little bit more exciting to the point where I was like, should I start watching basketball again? I had to remember, like, no, this is a film, Kevin. You would still be bored if you watched it. Stop.
Well, the thing is like the moments of the actual game are still the game, like the moves and everything they're doing are there, but they're still letting you at the same time feel the interaction between like the trash talk. His emotions getting heightened, his frustration when he makes a mistake. Right. At the same time, but again, it's much easier to convey basketball to the screen than MMA because basketball is made.
Basketball is fast paced. It's very action packed. I think it does convey. It's kind of like football. Football conveys well on the screen.
Pretty well. At the same time,
and if you edit it right, I think baseball can be a very compelling.
It can because
sport on screen.
Whenever it's going to be dead on the field, you show what's going on in the box or wherever the players sit. I don't know baseball that well.
I think it's box.
Yeah, cool box.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at Bad News Bears. That was mostly on the field, and that was awesome.
Yeah, but it's Billy Bob Thornton cussing or.
I said what I said.
Okay, I mean that's really what it. Or no,
he was the remake.
Yeah, who was the original? It was Walter Matthau.
Yes.
Walter Matthau was the original. Yeah, both of them were cussing a lot.
That was about half their script. It was just profanity dialogue, profanity dialogue. Drink beer.
Yeah. Yeah. So Hustle is a very good movie.
It was excellent.
But you know what it is?
Not excellent. It was very good.
Yeah. Ridiculous 6 isn't, though.
Great transition.
Well, I didn't want to hide that from you in case you guys slipped up and made some racial slurs, not knowing I wasn't 100% white.
So I'll put it to the audience this way. Have you ever seen the idiots on YouTube and on Twitter saying you couldn't make this movie anymore? There's no way you could make this movie. You couldn't make there's no way you could make Blazing Saddles anymore. Ridiculous 6 proves that that's kind of true. You can't make those types of movies anymore. In part, it's because it's already been made, so why would you want to remake it? But Adam Sandler, I don't even want to say he tries his hardest. He does something and has this be made.
Is the problem that he can't make it? Is that the problem?
I don't think it needs to be made.
Not that it needs to be made.
No, and
it definitely doesn't need to be made.
Good movies don't need to be remade. Bad movies need to be remade. Blazing Saddles is a good comedy. It doesn't need to be remade.
I guess I would differ with that only in the sense that I don't mind a modern remake only when it's done well. Which I know obviously is a very subjective opinion, but basically if I enjoy it, I'll be happy with it. If I don't, I'm going to hate it.
I mean, like, I think we talked about this movie earlier, like the John Carpenter's The Thing. Mm-hmm. I don't hate the Howard Hawks version of The Thing from the 1950s or 60s.
But Psycho, the Psycho remake, is, which granted, yes, it's a shot for shot. That never needed to be remade.
No,
and it's a travesty that was the remake we got.
Yes,
if you were able to do it and give it a new twist, give it something different, even if it's not as good, okay, that's something else to enjoy. But when you do something like this, like Ridiculous 6, you just cause people pain.
Yeah, and it's not even like it's not even a pure remake in any sort of way. So I don't want to get too much on that, but it is.
It's just a mild.
I think it's a spiritual remake in a certain. They're trying to do a comedy western. And they use a lot of racial stereotypes as the source of humor. It's very... I don't think anybody would say... Who's the guy that made... Mel Brooks. I don't think anybody would say that Mel Brooks has a very mature sense of humor. But there's almost a childlike quality to his. Whereas the opposite... Adam Sandler has also a very immature sense of humor. But it's not it's that drunken frat boy.
Right.
And that gets on you like, buddy, you should put down the beer and know a little bit better sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that
sometimes he does.
And sometimes he does, occasionally, but not with
not
the
in this movie.
This is a movie about 6 brothers. They're all racial stereotypes.
Even Adam Sandler sometimes.
Even Adam Sandler's a racial stereotypes of Native Americans. Of the
Which
white.
he is not, I don't think.
He's not. No, and they even say that he was...
That's right. They
he
was
brought into the fold. He was a lost child, and he was brought into the fold as a kid. But he's like... just every awful stereotype of Native Americans are more powerful and better than everybody else at everything. And it's the really annoying thing where he has superpowers where it's convenient for the plot, and he doesn't have superpowers where it's convenient for the plot.
And with no explanation.
None.
Not even some lazy, like, oh, my foot's stuck in the dirt or something like that.
Yeah.
Just, no. Not gonna do it.
He's the Flash at the beginning of this movie.
He is.
And
almost literally.
Ignored.
Just
Yeah, just entirely ignored. And yeah, I don't think there's any...
If you take the beginning of the movie, when his dad gets kidnapped, he should just sprint. He could do the movie in 5 minutes.
Yeah, all he needs is a bag of flour, apparently. We saw that from the opening.
Yeah.
Or so he would need a bag of flour for every 5 guys.
Which he could easily carry, apparently.
Yeah.
Another thing he does with the stereotype is he does that thing that they do about Native Americans where, like, the way they name people, like, oh, he's walks with limp. Like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What was the girl that he called her? Like, never wears a bra or something like that?
You know who that was?
No, who was that?
That's his wife in real life.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
She's in...
So she's bad, too.
She's in a couple of these films, because she's in... I'm trying to remember where she is in Jack and Jill. She's in, like, several of the films.
He really has no shame with this movie, does he?
Oh, no, it's pure nepotism and frienditism. I don't know. What is nepotism for friends? Tell us that in the comments below.
And granted, I'm doing quite well with nepotism, but...
Are you?
I'm doing better than I was.
Okay, all right.
I think it'll work.
So this movie uses mentally challenged people as humor points. One of the biggest jokes in the movie is fetal alcohol syndrome.
There's 2 of them, isn't it? The fat one and is it Taylor Lautner? Is that the?
No, Taylor Lautner's just
he's just dumb.
Just straight up R word.
Okay.
The big guy from Lost is fetal alcohol syndrome.
That's right. Because the whole time he's like slurring his words,
and that's the joke. Well, he doesn't even say
it. It is. He's slurring his words like he's Well, yeah. It's
no,
not even slurring.
He talks in gibberish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they literally say it's fetal alcohol syndrome. It's not even you're not even inferring that.
No. And
he has like this freakish freakish strength for some reason.
Yeah.
Probably another, because there is a stereotype with people with Down syndrome that they have freakish strength.
Oh yeah.
That's probably what they're doing with him too.
Yeah. You have Terry Crews, who maybe has the most interesting characteristic in the entire movie, in that he can play piano with his dick.
He's the least offensive by a mile.
Yeah. I really felt bad for Terry Crews being in him and Owen Wilson, because both of them are really too good to be in this. Rob Schneider is playing a Mexican, even though he's a Jew in real life. That felt awkward and kind of gross. And
I'm really surprised they didn't make him the gardener in Jack and Jill.
He wasn't available. And what really, like, this movie, I don't know. So I am a guy. I have very childish tastes in humor sometimes.
As we all do. Nothing wrong with that.
To me, like, one of the funniest moments in a film is in Team America, where the puppet is vomiting.
Yeah.
In the back alley.
Okay, yeah.
Cracks me up. It's not even a joke. It's a plethora of puke. I think that kind of stuff can be very, very funny.
It can be.
This movie tries to use the donkey to that extent, and it's just like, what are you doing?
Gross fart jokes every second. The only and then back to the jokes. The only laugh I got was, and it was really just a chuckle. It was when I think it was the horse died. They were sleeping out in the desert, and the horse died for some reason.
Okay.
I forget what happened, but the horse died. And then Rob Schneider just was talking about the burro. He's like, the burro is going to be pissed. I just kind of chuckled at that. And I don't know if it's because I have such low expectations for this movie that I was like, oh, that's something. Yeah, the two horses are mating. That's funny, I guess. But that was the only point where I laughed. But again, this was the final comedy no, this is the second one I watched. But I had already seen Jack and Jill, so I knew how bad it was.
So this is the first one I watched. Okay, so I will say I forgot that he was even in it. I love Steve Zahn.
Which one was he?
So he's the guy. He's the only guy. He's the shopkeeper that has the crooked eye that joins the group and has to poke out his eye.
Yeah,
that did kind of crack me up.
It was
not even the reveal where it turned out that none of them had taken their eyes, but that scene, it had that right level of comedic grossness. Mm-hmm. Where he's plucking out his eye. I kind of did chuckle at that. And I just like
those guys were funnier than the brothers.
Oh, 100%.
They should have made a movie about them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It still would have sucked, but
yeah,
maybe there's something there.
Yeah, where it's showing the different bugs and snakes and vultures that are torturing them and they're buried up to their head.
That was something.
Like that was something. Like I'll give you that.
But C for effort.
C.
I'm not giving you a B.
But yeah, this one, like Norm Macdonald, both had moments of great sadness for me because Norm Macdonald made cameos in both of them, and I was like, oh, Norm, oh, you're so much better than this. But I'm sure he got a nice paycheck, so that's fine.
I mean, he's done enough where I can forgive it.
Yeah.
I may not, but I can.
Yeah. I'll forgive him. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you're a better man than I am. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a big Norm Macdonald fan. So,
I am too.
I'm.
The problem with this one though is, again, just like Pixels, it just bored me. Like I was so burnt out. Like all the stereotype jokes just didn't even faze me. I was like, yep, that's what Sandler does with these crappy comedies. The story was completely meaningless.
Yep.
Every time they were trying so hard to force a gag every 2 to 3 seconds, whether it was playing the piano with his penis, the Taylor Lautner's character having like a stupid strong neck, everything with the fat guy, the guy from Lost. All the characters at the poker table. Yeah,
that was...
Mark Twain was like a rapper. Is that what the?
Yeah.
Why? Because he writes books. Is that the joke?
Is it because
books were the rap of that day?
It's anachronistic and it's funny because he's not and they wouldn't have been that way. Yeah, I don't understand.
Who was that? Was John Wilkes Booth?
No, John Wilkes Booth was Owen Wilson's flashbacks. He was the security for
Luke
Lincoln.
Wilson, you mean?
Was it Luke? Yeah, Luke Wilson.
Yeah, okay.
They're the same. Luke Wilson was the security at
yes. And that actually was a fun idea. You know what? Another thing I liked, actually, I will say, was the baseball scene where they're actually coming up with the rules. Like that was clever.
I hated that entire scene.
Did you really?
I hated it. Oh my! So for me, this movie was horrifically long. It's over 2 hours. This film is no comedy should be over an hour and a half. It doesn't make any sense that it was that long. And it was kind of like the Judd Apatow thing where you're just putting things in there that were fun to film, but they aren't fun to watch. Like just learn to cut it down. And that was one of those scenes where holy crap, you could have cut it completely out, saved 10 minutes in the movie.
There's so many other things that they would have been better off cutting out, though. I actually
Oh
find it
no,
funny.
there's a lot of stuff I feel like they should have cut out. That's just one of them.
I just found it like it was mildly clever. Like you could actually see there was some thought put into it. Not a lot of thought, but like okay, because like for example, he says 2 strikes.
It feels like a non sequitur.
I mean, it is, but
and to me the film up to that point, there were other non sequiturs, but there was also a lot of plot driven gags where okay, we have to do this because we have to get to the next step.
right.
Like that was completely a non sequitur that was entirely unneeded for the plot to
Well, the point of it
move
was
forward.
he was going to tell them about his dad.
Yeah, again, they didn't need that.
They didn't need it, no, but they did.
I mean, again, this is one of those scenarios where Adam Sandler's character is
I'm looking for good things.
okay. I'm not. He's basically Batman and the Flash. That's who Robin or Adam Sandler's character is in this movie. Like, just have him. Oh, they went this way.
Oh,
I see
you
the
mean
tracks.
his powers?
Yeah. Just have him like, oh, there's
Yeah.
because all of us Native Americans are superheroes. Oh, here are the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Annoying. I wanted everybody to be blown up at the end of the film. I wanted everyone to die. This movie does one of the things that annoys the crap out of me, in that Adam Sandler and his gang of friends kill people throughout this movie getting to the end goal.
Right.
And then there's a massive shootout and tons of people are murdered by him and his friends.
Right.
But he's above killing the man who kidnapped his wife and ruined his life and,
Right.
and had his mom killed and no, I'm going to let you live because I'm better. You just killed like 5 people outside before you went into this cave, and somehow, I don't know where, but
The start of the movie, he kills 7 people.
he had like 30 knives somewhere tucked away. He didn't kill any of those guys. That's the whole.
He didn't kill them?
That's the whole gang. That
Oh,
that
you're
the guy
right.
joins,
You're
yeah.
right. You're right. That is them.
I mean, they kill Harvey Keitel pretty brutally, and then they laugh about it.
And see, that's right. They and see that like you called him Batman. At least Batman, when he lets the Joker live and it's frustrating, at least that's who Batman is.
Right, he has morals.
Right.
Which is why Batman versus Superman is annoying, because he's using guns and killing people.
There's a lot of reasons Batman vs. Superman is annoying, for the record. Sorry, honey. I love you. My wife likes Batman vs. Superman.
Okay.
Don't look at her like
Yeah.
that.
Do better.
We can do better.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like but a lot of movies do that, and at least then there's some like emotional weight in front of it. He acknowledges early on that this guy isn't his real, or not early on, but he acknowledges beforehand that this guy isn't his real father. It's like, so why are you letting him live?
Right.
There's no reason to.
No.
Also, you're leaving him in a complete mess. It's not like you're treating him better. Like killing him would actually be mercy. You chose the worst way.
Yeah.
You're not a monster. I wouldn't call you a monster, but if one of 2 options is monster, you chose the worst.
Yeah, I don't know. So, from...
You definitely analyzed it a lot more than I did. I was just sitting there frustrated the whole time.
Well, I kept on telling people we were going to analyze. Why did you analyze? Come
I
on.
couldn't. It turned the part of my brain off. I analyzed Hustle. I analyzed Uncut Gems. I analyzed Punch Drunk Love.
Analyzing, you find the theme of the film, and then you determine if the movie cohesively portrays that theme of the film.
I think you can argue there is no theme.
No, the theme of The Ridiculous Six is family. But that's also the theme of Jack and Jill. And that's kind of the theme of Pixels. Family.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
You and I know family sucks.
Family and racism.
Yeah.
2 themes just melded together.
Yeah. Racism is okay as long as it's in the family.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I don't like myself sometimes. Can you help me?
The final film we're going to talk about is Punch Drunk Love. Paul Thomas Anderson film from, I didn't write down the date, but I think it was 2000 or it was early 2000s, maybe even 99.
I feel like it was 01.
01, okay. A very, it's an old timey Hollywood musical without the musical numbers.
Yes.
It's a romantic comedy. It's about a man. I think, and this is interesting because I think you could even say that he's possibly autistic to a certain degree. It's not clearly overtly stated, but he's definitely someone who has.
That's not what I saw.
Social anxiety.
I think he has bad anxiety.
Okay.
I think he's got bad anxieties and he's very insecure. And I think I think they were kind of hinting at. And granted, this was the first time I'd seen this movie, so I go into a lot less understanding probably. But it seemed like the idea was that his sisters just constantly beat him down, not literally, but like just emotionally.
I feel like it was a little bit of both, literally and figuratively.
I mean, maybe literally.
He was kind of beaten down as he was kind of a runt.
If you're a pushover and you got 7 sisters, I'm sure there's some beating up. But it seemed like he spent his whole life keeping everything bottled up.
Yeah. Which
caused him to have these little tics. He was just a weird, awkward guy. And of course he has his freak out moments. But the way, like, when he shatters the glass early on, they were all angry at him, but they didn't seem surprised.
Right. No, they didn't.
They weren't surprised. They were just like, damn it, again?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
They even used the R word at one point.
Yeah, they did.
Referring to him.
Yes. Well, that was back when you could do that. And not get canceled on your YouTube channels.
Well, I mean, I think it was appropriate for the film, because none of the sisters are...
No, they're not compassionate or caring.
They're not redeemable. They're just selfish, and they are completely... One scene pissed me off was when that one scene was when that one sister was in his office after he had asked the husband about therapy, and she's just right in his face, just like, "What's wrong? Why are you doing that?" I'm like, "What's wrong with you? Why do you need therapy?" I'm like, I was getting furious.
Yeah,
I was getting legitimately angry.
Well, I think too, like, looking back, this movie is, I think, addressing a different time and place where that wasn't, and probably even to this day, I'm sure there's still families that function similarly where, you know, therapy is looked down upon. Like, you only go to therapy like if your spouse cheated on you, or you know, if you have like a drug abuse problem or something like that. Like, why would you go there unless you're like literally crazy? It wasn't quite
like a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest level of understanding of it. Like just psychotic people are there. But it wasn't like, I mean, today, there's still stigma today, but there's a general acceptance. At that point, you had issues. Well, from people's perspective. Like, something's really wrong with that guy if he's going to fail.
But I think we're still like, just get over it. Because even
man up. A kind of a man up.
Because I even find myself, you know, mentally, if I hear like somebody's in therapy or something like that, like, just man up and get over it, you know. And I'm like, I have to check myself and be like, okay, we're in a different time, you know. People.
Well, we've heard that for decades.
Yeah, and like, okay, people need this for a reason, and okay, maybe you don't go, but you probably do need it, Kevin, but you don't go. Yeah. So yeah,
we're gonna get them there. It's gonna take time.
That's what this whole channel is.
April, come on in. Come on in. It's time.
Eventually, it'll just be me recording my sessions.
Kevin doesn't know we don't have any subscribers left. Don't tell him.
But this is a movie I first watched when I was in college. I love this movie. I think it is beautiful. I think it is wonderful. I love it's a romantic comedy, but it's also kind of it's anti-traditional Hollywood romantic comedy, but at the same time it's borrowing from these great classic romantic comedy musicals from the 1940s and 50s. One we're going to be covering in a few episodes here is Singing in the Rain, that I absolutely love. And I think I love Singing in the Rain in part because I love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
and also in part because I love Jackie Chan movies. But we'll get into that when we cover Singing in the Rain. Yeah, this is a beautiful movie about someone finding unconditional love, and finally being able to express himself. And I think the movie is really about him finally becoming a man to a certain extent, and finally standing up for himself when he never has his entire life. It's kind
of the dichotomy of what the negative stereotypes of being a man is and the positive ones, because it kind of feels like his sisters, like, they all think they're doing the right thing. It's like they feel like they're trying to toughen him up into a man,
right,
in their own way, and it's not working because that's not the way you be a man,
right.
And then he kind of figures out his own way with the love interest. I forget her name. What is her name?
I don't know. I always remember her as Dollarhide's love interest in the Red Dragon. I can never remember her name.
But yeah,
Emily something.
Yeah, but she shows him not even necessarily trying to. She actually helps him find like the right way to be a man.
Yeah.
And I like how you compare it to a musical, because I didn't even notice that. But now that you mention it, there's so many moments where I could see song just break out. And it would feel completely appropriate.
Like that scene where Luis Guzman is pulling the pudding and putting him in the cart, and he's just sitting there dancing because he knows he's about to go see her in Hawaii. Like, it's so beautiful, and it's just...
Or the scene where those four guys hit him with the car, and then he just kind of walks up to him. That felt like a West Side Story kind of moment.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, because even then, when he punches each of them, he even hits one or two of them with a crowbar.
Yeah.
It's not this, like, thickening, harsh thud. It's almost a slap.
Yeah.
Like, it really sounds like he's just popping each of them. It's not like, it's nowhere near Indiana Jones. It feels very grounded in real life.
And the way it's done, it almost feels like there were several times in the movie, and even though I started to think it wasn't going to happen, when he had his outburst, there were several, like, almost each one of them, it felt like it wasn't actually happening. It felt like he was imagining it. Like, in the beginning, when he broke the glass, I really thought it was going to have one of those moments where it kind of comes back, and he's just kind of like, what? Like someone's like, Adam. And he was just thinking about it. It felt like that the whole way through, but then it's like, oh, he actually did it. To where I'm wondering if, like, maybe this was, like, showing maybe he had been doing that for so long, and now we're seeing him as he's kind of broken.
Yeah, no,
I
think that's definitely it. I think he's a man at the end of his rope.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting because I've read some reviews online where people are talking about how Paul Thomas Anderson is somehow embracing toxic masculinity, and that's how Adam Sandler, like, beating the guys up at the end, and that's how Adam Sandler becomes a man. But I feel like it's not. I feel like he's confronting that sort of rugged masculinity, and being like, almost like when he confronts the always wonderful what's his name?
I know exactly. Rest in peace. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh gosh, I just lost his name.
Now we're canceled for sure.
Philip
Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. When he confronts him, like, I feel like the guys that he beat up and Philip Seymour Hoffman are kind of the males that his sisters were trying to train him to be.
Exactly.
And he confronts them, and he defeats them, and he goes back and he shows, you know, true love to his girl, and he apologizes for leaving her at the hospital. He fully explains what had to happen, and he said, okay, that will never happen again.
The exact opposite of the way that a toxic masculinity would be. Like, if he had attacked them, brutalized them, he didn't do that.
No, he hits each of them once, and then one guy then backs away. And so he points at him, and then he hands the crowbar, and then he takes off.
He gives him a warning.
Yeah.
He lets him know. And also, this was the second time they attacked him.
Yeah.
And he realized in that moment, they're not going to leave me alone unless I stand up for myself.
Which the first time they attack him, I don't know what it is. Like, to me, that's the funniest Adam Sandler has ever been. Where he is...
When he's getting dragged into the truck?
No. When he's running.
Oh, when he's escaping.
When he's escaping, and he's kind of doing that half scream.
Yeah.
Where you know, like, he really wants to turn around and kill those guys, but he's also scared for his life.
Right.
Yeah. Oh.
It felt so real, though, because you could feel he wanted to hit him, but he was scared to hit him. But he really wanted to hit him. And totally understandably. I laughed.
He does that flying dive.
Yeah. I laughed, though, at the moment, right after all that, when he's running, and they drove up, they're like, we know where you live, and they drive off. It was the best thing. Where are you going? Yeah, what did the, because this was the only time I've seen it, and I haven't had a chance to, like, look into, like, theories and stuff. What did the piano really mean?
I think the piano for him was, I think that was supposed to be one of the many hints at the fact that this is a musical. Like, that's going to be the instrument that he breaks, that he breaks out into song. Because even at the end, he's carrying it to her apartment and he sets it down. Right. And then he enters her apartment and leaves it. It's this whole idea that there should be a musical number. And this is to me. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. This is just me watching it a few times. This is what I take from it. Mm-hmm. It's the whole idea that at any moment a musical number could break out, but it never does.
Okay, I like that. That's really good.
Yeah. I kind of came up with that on the spot here, but yeah.
I respect it.
Yeah, no, I love all the acting. It's very, all the acting is good. I think Louise Guzman is hilarious. Is kind of this. He works for Adam Sandler, but he's just a worker, and he doesn't really understand what's going on. And he's like, I'm just here for a paycheck, but you seem like an okay guy.
And he really is.
And so he's just kind of there to support him, even though he doesn't really understand how to support him. Right. There's a lot of great moments of comedy, like when the forklift goes out of control. Yeah. And it's just in the background, and Adam Sandler sitting there talking to his love interest.
And he's trying to ignore it.
Are you guys okay? Okay, good. And he goes back to like but just the way he plays it off. And I mean, I think, you know, to give the true credit to this movie, I think it's Paul Thomas Anderson. I'm not sure this is something that I don't think Sandler would have done something. Even though, you know, we've talked about a couple moments, I don't think Adam Sandler would have ever done something this reserved without really, like, Paul Thomas Anderson or something like that. Like,
oh no,
at the helms, really guiding him. I remember seeing this movie and then seeing some of the stuff afterwards that Sandler did, and I don't really feel like he's ever even reached this high of a bar in terms of acting until, like, I saw, like, Uncut Gems. Yeah. And that really makes me sad because I'm like, these two movies show that he can play that everyman. Yeah.
And you know, now that I like that we've discussed it, because it's kind of brought the movie to a higher level for me. Because I had it above Hustle. I don't know if I put it above Uncut Gems yet. But it's definitely higher up now that I've gotten another perspective on it. I want to watch it again. Because now I think this is one that's worth many watches.
I think it is, and it's only like an hour and a half too.
It's very short.
Yeah, so it's not hard. I love the soundtrack. It's by Brion, Brion, I think. It's very. I think you either love it or you hate it. It's very plinky and light, and
it fits.
It perfectly fits with the film.
Right.
It may not be one that I would put on in the background and listen to just in my everyday life.
No, it's not one of those.
But I love it for this movie. It's
it just
absolutely
fits.
Perfect. Yeah.
I would I mean, yeah, like I don't think I'd pick a different soundtrack for it. Like it stuck out just enough. Like it wasn't like one that I truly loved, but it was the best choice.
Yeah.
I think for it because if they're gonna make it seem like a musical but not actually do it, then they need to make it more subtle. Because I would hate for it to be like constant, like they're about to go into song, and they just keep going,
right?
That kind of thing. So yeah, I like that better.
And I will say, I think I'm not going to say it's his best film, but I do think this is my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely done better work. I mean, like Boogie Nights is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Of course, There Will Be Blood.
Mm-hmm.
Phantom Thread.
Is There Will Be Blood on our list? I thought I saw it.
No, I mean, I own it. I mean, we can put it on there. I'd be happy to watch it and talk about it.
If you want to, it's fine.
Yeah.
I was just thinking.
Have you ever watched it?
Yeah, it's been years. It's something.
For me too.
I do plan on going back and watching it soon. Is this your favorite Sandler movie?
Out of all of them?
Yeah.
Actually, I think out of every movie he's ever been in, I think so. Yeah, no. I think this might be. I really do honestly believe it's his best. I believe it's his best work.
I definitely think it's his best performance.
Yeah.
I think I like Uncut Gems better, but I think his performance in this was better.
Right.
I think the movie overall for Uncut Gems I like better. But again, I need to go back and watch Punch Drunk Love a second time now that I have a broader perspective on it. But yeah, his performance in this one was... And what's crazy is I think his best two films are ones that he didn't have complete control over.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because the talent is there.
Yeah.
Like he has got the talent. Because
So,
there's also Wedding Singer. There's the Merwit, like I mentioned earlier, the Merwit stories. There's funny people. Like which not all of those aren't like phenomenal, but they're good movies.
Yeah.
Hustle, good movie.
Yeah.
He does a really good job in all these movies. So the talent's there, which means in theory that Jack and Jill shouldn't exist.
no.
And yet it does.
That's the Mandela effect I'm waiting to actually happen. Is where Jack and Jill disappears altogether.
Well, so do we want to do like a broad generalization or broad analysis now?
Well, I was gonna ask you, out of the 6 movies we watched, which one do you think Papa would have liked the most?
Papa. I think Papa would appreciate the drag. I think Jack and Jill is good. I think... I lean Punch Drunk Love.
Really? I'm going to say Hustle.
Really? Because I was considering Uncut Gems.
No, I don't think he would have been entirely... I don't think he would have entirely liked the end. I think Hustle is that great kind of American sports type film, and I mean he wasn't like the most sports enthusiastic man.
Right.
I know, but I think that's the type of film that he would have gotten behind and enjoyed the most.
I can say that.
I think there are some quirks and esotericness to Punch Drunk Love that I think he may not have entirely
really
enjoyed or got. Yeah.
Gotcha. I could say that. I think he would have enjoyed all 3 overall. But
yeah,
I could see how Hustle. I could see how you took that one.
Yeah.
So I will say I was doing some looking into Happy Madison, and they have 4 films that are on the kind of. I mean, it's a subjective list, but it's kind of a collective worst films of all time.
Really?
They have 4 films on there.
How many of those did we watch this time?
I believe just one. I believe Jack and Jill is one. Pixels and Ridiculous 6 didn't make it. They've got 2 that have a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Really? Which ones?
One of them is... I don't know. Let me pull it up, because I'm not certain that we watched either of them. I think Jack and Jill has like a 3? A 4?
That's too high.
It is too high. I mean, I think 0 is too high, personally, for a lot of these movies. Alright, so one is Ridiculous 6.
Oh, okay. All right.
The other is Father of the Year, which I had never even heard of. It has David Spade in it and Nat Faxon. Yeah, exactly. That's what I saw. But what just perplexes me is that they can make something like Hustle. They could make... I mean, they made Mr. Deeds, they made Anger Management, they made I think they made The Waterboy.
Yeah.
So these aren't, which aren't like all-time greats, but they're funny movies.
Yeah.
Like Waterboy's hilarious, I think.
Yeah, I think they're well-regarded comedies.
Yeah. There were real jokes. There was a real plot. There was a lot of humor. Like all of those, except maybe not Anger Management, but all of those have like a moment that everyone will talk about for years to come. Everyone loves Bobby Boucher, like the silly, stuttering Southern boy. They know how to make comedy. I don't know at what point Adam.
Or here's the thing: did they know how to make comedy?
What do you think the other thing is?
Have we collectively as an audience grown and mature past their sense of comedy?
I don't know.
And can we watch those comedies? Because we can go back to the time that we first watched those comedies, and we can still enjoy them.
So you think it's a nostalgic thing?
I think part of it's a nostalgia thing. I think part of it was maybe they were original jokes then.
True.
I think now, they're rehashing a lot of the same voices. I mean, they're basically doing a lot of the same voices, a lot of the same jokes, over and over again. I mean, think about it. I mean, the fetal alcohol syndrome guy. He's basically the Cajun coach from The Waterboy.
He is. Oh my
goodness. they're just kind of rehashing a lot of these jokes, and
That's the same guy.
And so think about. I mean, like we've already seen these jokes,
right?
A lot of them, and maybe they were moderately funny the first time. We can go back and watch those movies with nostalgia and still enjoy them.
Well, in The Waterboy, it's like less offensive too, because it's like he's just this stupid Southerner. Like, okay, so be it.
Well, I think and Waterboy felt like it was a takeoff on almost Forrest Gump. It was almost a little bit of a spoof on Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I could see that.
Way, so, yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Just taking like the football scene from Forrest Gump and making it a movie.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, just his college experience. So films.
I really regret it.
Really, I'm glad. But I hope you enjoyed the half that we didn't regret. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. I hope you did not watch half of these films. We do. I think we both really recommend the 3 good ones.
Yes, they're all definitely need to be watched once.
Yeah, without a doubt. So go check those out. Next episode, I believe, is going to be. I know the movie is Babette's Feast. I don't remember what the video game is.
I believe it's Final Fantasy VII.
Okay. So Babette's Feast, which is apparently one of our Papa's favorite films of all time. We're going to watch it. It's on HBO Max.
Really?
And then we're going to watch Final Fantasy, or we're going to talk about Final Fantasy VII. So that's next episode.
Is that true about Papa?
Yeah, according to my mom. It
Really?
may just be one of my mom's favorite films that she's trying to trick me into watching. So we'll find out.
That's actually now I'm very excited about this.
So we hope you enjoyed this overlong episode. If you've actually stayed to the end, we really do appreciate you being a subscriber and watching our content. Really, we're doing this just because I think we enjoy talking to each other. But if we're entertaining you and giving you something to maybe listening to while you fold the laundry or whatever, we hope you. We appreciate you for joining us. If you have any other thoughts, leave them in the comments. And we will see you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks, guys.